Aleppo, Syria. Day 1, the 1st of September 2015, Aleppo, Syria. My 13th birthday and first ever post on Facebook. Life is getting serious when your dreams become the most comfortable place to be. I didn't want to wake up this morning. I felt so safe, so happy and so secure. And then with a lurch, all the realities of the day started flooding in. Firstly, my stomach gave me an aching reminder that we hardly ate last night. Then I jerked my head up to look around quickly. But it was okay, everyone was there. Well, when I say everyone, Mum was already up making noises the other side of the makeshift curtain. But that is the new normal. Our house is fairly unrecognisable. We all sleep together downstairs in the farthest portion of our house from the road. Dad builds a barricade at the 2 doors into the area most nights. We seem to be boiling water all the time to try and avoid illness. This makes the kitchen damp and foggy. But at least the water supply has held out so far. Other parts of the city are not so lucky. Electricity comes on for about 3 hours a day at the moment, so when it's on, we're all busy taking full advantage. When I woke up, it took me a while to remember that there was a good side to the day. I have made it to 13. Seems a small thing in the grand scheme of the crazy we are living through, but despite everything, everyone did stop to make a fuss of me. For a brief respite, life felt back in place. We were all able to smile for a minute. My family's love can get us through a lot of hardship. Mum gave me one of her nicest headscarves, the blue one with the white flowers. I love it. And Sina, my sister, drew me the picture I've used as my profile picture. She wants to be a great artist one day. I tease her about it quite often, but today I was quiet. My little brother Elias gave me a kite he had made with Uncle. Not sure when I'll get a chance to fly it, but it is a nice thought to think we might. Maybe my best birthday present is that my parents have let me have a Facebook account. Social media has become a key tool in surviving this civil war. At the moment, I'm going to keep this page just for me. I can use it as a diary. I hope that way that whatever happens, it will be safe and I can access it from anywhere. A secret treasure chest of memories on the internet. I tend to think about keeping things safe quite a bit. Things seem to get broken, stolen or lost too easily right now. Aleppo is right at the centre of the civil war. There's been fighting here for 4 years now. We can only visit a small part of the city. Dad spends quite a lot of time online trying to work out what is going on. Some days he says we have to leave, and then he changes his... Mum wanted to take us all out to her family in the countryside, but things are not good there either. Mum's brother sent a message telling us not to come. So for the moment, we're making the best of it. In some ways, even though everything outside is so different, at least inside our house, I have good memories of before things started to change so much for us. It feels very unreal, the thought of leaving Aleppo. I've never lived anywhere else. Here, when I walk on the streets, even now when so many have left, I still know people and we all help and support each other. We had some bad news this afternoon. There are rumours that gas bombs have been used in North Aleppo. Dad looked very worried. He spent a lot of time talking to Uncle about plans. We had a good connection to the internet for a short while. He showed me a tweet with a picture of some children from Aleppo who have made it all the way to Hungary in just 15 days. After that, we went on Flickr, where people post their own personal pictures. We did a search on Aleppo. I'd almost forgotten how tidy and beautiful our city used to look. The university, the park and the streets all so different now. It was like looking into a different imaginary world, which is all the while painfully familiar. Dad says it's important to remember where we've come from. I think it helped him to calm down to see the pictures. When Uncle came over, he bought a small bag of lentils from another relative out of town, so we had a good meal this evening. Mum says I need to study. I'm learning English. She says it's the key to my future. So I'll stop here. More tomorrow. Amira. Day 2, 2nd of September 2015, Aleppo, Syria. Getting ready. So I've had my bag packed for several weeks now, just in case we have to leave in a hurry. It is a bit of a pain, because I keep needing things that I've already stowed away. This morning we had a serious family discussion. Dad informed us that we'll be leaving Aleppo very soon. He has a plan, but he's not going to tell us where we're going yet. He's told us not to talk about leaving to anyone outside the family. He seems to be almost ready. It has been a difficult decision. None of us want to leave our home, but we have no choice. Things are just getting worse. Mum has been through my bag with me again, trying to make sure that I have not too much and not too little. How does one decide what to take on a completely unimaginable journey? Mum is busy photographing every room in the house, so we all have reminders of our life here. Zaina and Mum also spent a while taking digital copies of lots of our old photos. So now she has my grandparents and all the family sitting in her phone. Zaina is very good at working out how to place the photographs so that light does not fall on the image and cause a shine. With the very old photos, she sometimes edits them and can make them look even better than the original. Mum says she has a gift in her fingers. I had a dream last night about flying my kite, and I told my sister she found a great picture of a girl flying a kite. Zaina edited it to make it look arty. She says it looks very like me, although I have never had a triangular kite like that. It was kind of her. I love the picture. It speaks of freedom that is just out of reach. Sometimes when life is so difficult, art can express what words can't. Elias has been making lots of noise in the house. Mum says he really needs to go out for a run because he has too much energy. Unfortunately, there's not anywhere safe to go. Instead, we've been making him run back and forth along the corridor and do obstacle races over all the bags. My bag does not feel heavy, but I wonder how I will feel when I have to carry it a long way. I have taken my kite to pieces and folded the bits carefully inside my new scarf. It is tucked right at the bottom of my bag. Our neighbour told us that tonight there is a special cinema for children at the infant school. It is a project funded by foreigners. It's a long time since we've had an outing. I don't think Elias has ever been to the cinema. Mum says if there are no air raids, we can go. It's only 2 streets away, but these strange days we have to weigh up the risks for every journey. The rumours about mustard gas seem to be true. Mum saw some terrible pictures of children just to the north of the city with terrible burns. She would not let me see them. I wish it would all stop, all the barrel bombs, gas bombs and snipers. I've seen too much now. I no longer know who's right and who's wrong. My parents feel the same way. They just want us to live. Zaina read some exciting news this afternoon. Apparently Germany have opened up their borders and are going to let all the Syrian refugees who arrive in their country apply for asylum. Maybe I should start learning German instead of English. Apparently 10,000 Icelanders have offered Syrian families places in their homes. There are good people in the world. Unfortunately, Icelandic looks even harder to learn than German. Iceland. It sounds like something out of make-believe. Trying to read all this information is actually really helping my English. Dad says every time I find a word I don't understand, I must look it up in the dictionary. It takes a long time. Some of the things I read are so supportive. It really gives me some hope that there is a way out of here to a new life. We watched a video of some people in Europe who are trying to imagine what it's like to be in Syria during the war. It was funny to imagine them trying to imagine us. When I get away from here, I will tell them what it's really like. Maybe I could write a book. People need to know how wrong and scary this all is. Must be off. I have places to go. Amira. Day 3, the 3rd of September 2015, Aleppo, Syria. Emotional days for Syria and the world refugee crisis. How up and down the last day has been. The photographs of tiny Aylan and his family have scorched our hearts and that of all the international community. When we first saw them, we all cried, even Dad. It made me think of the tragic deaths we've seen over the last few years. So many of them that we slowly become hardened to it. And then over the next few hours, we started to see the international response. Late into the evening, the hashtag refugee crisis has been trending on Twitter all over the world. And this morning, many national newspapers led with the photograph on their front pages. It is kind of amazing. We've had a war here for 4 years, and then in one night it feels like the whole world is focused on our story. Zaina and I first noticed the photograph was going viral when I got back from the cinema. It was the drawings of the little boy that started appearing on our Twitter feeds that made us realise that this was going to be big. We started to collect them. Once again, art has so many ways of telling the same story. Each of them shows a different aspect and emotion. We started favouriting them and collecting them. I put them in an album called Tributes to Aylan. To start with, he was just an anonymous child, but this morning we found out that he was a 3-year-old and that he died alongside his 5-year-old brother and his mother. He was washed up on a beach in Turkey at a place called Bodrum. Apparently it's very popular with tourists. What a strange contrast. People sunbathing and a small child dying in the waves. We've all been heartened by the outpouring of outrage from people all over the world. Things must change now for us Syrians. I hope and pray that it is so. Maybe foreign governments will listen and provide safe havens for my family and our fellow countrymen. We were so taken with the news, we stayed up late. I didn't get up early this morning. I've not had school for quite a while now, so it was not a problem. This morning I did ask Dad if he'd been thinking of taking us the same way as Aylan's family, across the border into Turkey and then across a short stretch of the Aegean Sea to Greece. I'm quite scared of the thought of that, especially for Elias, who is so small. Dad gave me a big hug and told me he promised he would look after us. I played with Elias a lot today. The journey we're about to take is going to be hardest for him. He loves to play games with me. He will join in with all my skipping games, card games, imaginary games, and of course we play football. He just loves football. This afternoon Dad seemed quite emotional again. He's so different to before this war started. Then he was always so sure of his decisions and what we should do. Before the war, I'd never seen him cry. He would laugh a great deal, especially with all my uncles, and he worked hard every day in his IT business. He's been selling off the last of his stock to try and raise funds for our trip. For anyone planning to leave, it's very convenient that the Turkish lira has become the main currency in Aleppo. We're lucky we still have the car. There are not so many cars now in Aleppo. He often loans it out to neighbours. It is a precious thing. In all the excitement, I've forgotten to mention the film we saw last night. There was a gaggle of us, and it felt good to be in a group of kids. Since school stopped, it's been rare to see that many others. Elias's little friend Abdullah was there. They were so pleased to see each other. There were various cartoons, and then we watched Mr. Bean. What a funny man, with all his unusual European ways. I saw a poster today that said Einstein was a refugee. It made me have a strange thought. I'm about to gain a new label. No longer just a Syrian from Aleppo, but also a refugee. It might take quite a while to get used to. I must go now, but I think I will find it hard to sleep. The noise of aeroplanes and bombs is everywhere. We've not had much food today. I'm hungry all the time. There was also no water for 5 hours. Mum was starting to panic. Without water, our life here is not possible. Luckily, it seems to be working again now. I can almost smell our departure from Aleppo in the air. Amira. Day 4, 4th of September 2015, near the Syria-Turkey border. Leaving Aleppo. It all happened very suddenly in the end. The noise of the explosion was earth-shattering. Apparently, the infant school where we watched the film the day before yesterday is now a pile of rubble. The dust was everywhere. It was not yet light when it happened. Somehow, we all found each other in the dark and dust and ran out into the street. Dad used his phone to light the way a little. We've seen buildings collapse easily after such a blast. It was hard to orientate ourselves in the dark, and all I could hear was screams and the noise of planes still flying overhead. We all hugged each other for a moment. After a while, Mum ventured into the house for a lamp, and then I sat with Elias on the street in a little pool of light. The old lady from up the street came to sit with us. She was praying quietly and holding Elias's hand. My parents and Zainab rushed to load the car with our bags and provisions. All around us, our neighbours were making similar hasty plans. We left just as it was getting light. Aleppo was surreal in the early morning light. One destroyed street after another, white and glistening in the dawn. The changes to our street and local area had become familiar to us, but the full impact of this war on our beautiful city became clearer as we crawled our way out of the town in between the potholes. Maybe we were already seeing it with strangers' eyes. Inside the car, we were all very quiet and subdued. The tears streamed down my face as we moved west out of the city. Yesterday, I read that Aleppo is the most dangerous city in the world. It doesn't feel like that when you're just living day to day. But now, with the reality of this huge change, it feels enormous. It's strange how one building has been providing a cocoon within which we can live and function. Now we belong nowhere, and the enormity of that feeling is overwhelming. Zaina says that the only way to cope is to live each day one at a time. I think I'll have to try and do that. Otherwise, I don't think I can manage this. We headed west out of Aleppo. To the north, there is terrible fighting as ISIS tried to prevent the creation of a safe zone near the Turkish border. It is only 27 miles to the nearest border crossing, but we cannot go there. The border crossings with Turkey were shut earlier this year. It feels like forever before we draw up at the guide's place. There are a couple of other cars there and a small hut. We'll have to sleep the night in the car. The car will be left as payment to the guides, but for tonight it will be our home. So now we just wait and snooze. It is hot in the car, but there is a tree we can lie under for shade. It has been a truly exhausting and scary day. We are all glad to stop for a while. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will be in Turkey. Amira. Day 5, September the 5th, 2015, close to the Syria-Turkey border. The March of Hope. I'm not sure where to start this entry. Once again, things have been so deeply bad, especially for us, personally, and yet so exciting for our people. The long and the short of it is that we are back in the guide's hut. We did not make it across into Turkey today, but let me explain how things unfolded. Yesterday, in the late afternoon, the guides appeared. They were on horseback. They were pleased because they had successfully managed to get their last group across the border. There were 2 of them, both reasonably good-natured but tough. They were doing well out of the situation, as people pay them every day for their knowledge and experience. Dad spent some time talking to them in their hut. There is a television in the hut, and being close to the Turkish border, they can pick up Turkish TV. The guides invited us all in to while away the time. We all started discussing the journey the different people were taking, and they mentioned how bad things were for people in Kos, Greece, and in Hungary. In Hungary, they have stopped all the trains travelling across the land. There were large numbers of people at the station in Budapest, and the situation did not look good. And then we saw a report from a British woman reporter. She was an older woman, and she showed how people were climbing over the fence at the camp that they'd put them in Hungary, and walking. They said that if they can't take the train, they will walk to Germany. The look of determination on their faces, it was wonderful to behold. And then thousands of other people joined them. The news must have spread like wildfire, via people's phones and social media. They followed, and the reporters were following them, saying they were not sure what would happen. They thought that maybe they would all be put back on coaches and sent back to the camp. But there were so many people. There was a photo of a large bridge over a huge river. My father said it's called the Danube. The bridge was full of people streaming over it towards Austria. We managed to get on Twitter and found pictures of the marchers, young and old, with pushchairs and wheelchairs. It was amazing. I saw a picture of a mother with 6 children travelling to find her husband in Germany. It makes me happy to see that if her little kids can make it, then surely we can get Elias to safety. It was clear that they were all starting to get very tired, but there were stories of how the marchers were all helping each other and then setting up little camps by the side of the motorway. And then came amazing reports on the TV that 2,500 people in Austria had agreed that they would get in their cars and come and fetch the marchers. The reporters started to call it the March of Hope. Next came the news that Austria has said they will open their borders to the marchers. And then, very, very late at night, the Hungarian government decided they would send coaches. They collected all the people still at the train station and then collected the marchers. Finally, Germany announced that the marchers can come into Germany. This morning we've heard that the Austrians are laying on trains to take those that wish to Germany. The joy and strength of our people marching towards freedom was quite overwhelming to see. After years of trauma, we are taking charge of our destiny. As you can imagine, we were all very emotional. The guides sang songs. Zaina started drawing, as she always does. It must be the way she expresses her emotion. She did a beautiful drawing celebrating the 4th of September 2015, a historic day for Syria. In the end, we stayed up so late watching the story unfold that the guide said we should just stay up. Luckily, Elias had slept in the corner. He is so small, my parents just carried him fast asleep. It was still dark when we got on the horses and travelled a short distance to the border. The guides were scared to use much light, but the horses seemed to know the way. It was only just getting light when we arrived at the border. It felt like a dream to be there. Freedom was so close we can almost touch it. There was a big ditch with barbed wire. The guides had to cut the wire to let us through. We kept hidden away from the ditch while they were doing that. Just as they were getting back to tell us to come, we heard some noises. There was a truck and some Turkish soldiers firing their guns into the sky. I was very scared. They could so easily have turned them towards us. No one would know. The guides hurried us away, and we rode sadly back to camp. I can't tell you how emotional we all felt. Sometimes, when your spirits have raised so high, they dip deeper than feels possible. The fact that we were all extremely tired did not help matters. I sobbed myself to sleep back at the camp. I've just slept for 6 hours. I feel a little better, although still wrung out. Life is so complicated. Some days I feel I'm getting to the end of my strength. I had to look at Zaina's picture to cheer me up. We will get there. One of the guides came over to talk to me. He could see how sad I was. He told me not to worry. It happens all the time. We just have to keep trying. It may take 3 days, but we will get there. I guess that is all very well, but where we are does not feel particularly safe. There are gangs of militia roaming this area all the time. The less time we spend here, the better. I just have to hold on to hope. I must remember how strong the Syrians are. I hope I have better news for you tomorrow. Amira. Day 6, the 6th of September 2015. Syria near the border with Turkey. Disappointment mounts. It is another difficult day for us here, waiting near the border. We tried to go to the border again very early this morning. It was no good. Before we even got close, we could hear the noise of the Turkish guards at the fence. Dad asked whether it was worth continuing on to another place, and the guides conceded that since it was still so early, it might be worth it. We carried on in the dark, but somehow those Turkish guards could sense us. We could hear their cars driving along the other side of the border. The guides became uncomfortable. Near to the hut, they have a good idea of which militia groups are working, but the further away they get, the more unknown it becomes. So we turned back reluctantly. The guides say we will try a different place where they have been successful tomorrow. They are keen to see us get through. Another family arrived this afternoon. We will all go as a group together. This means that some of us will have to walk next to the horses. Later in the day, we saw some American planes flying over. They went very fast. Apparently they have bombed Amira today, just north of Aleppo. It is lucky we did not head that way. Dad was thinking of it because the Turkish government kept saying they were going to create a safe area there. We could just hear the bombs going off in the far distance. Elias cried when he saw the planes. Most young boys love planes, but I guess he knows firsthand what they can do. The news from Europe is still good. We've seen videos of people being welcomed to Germany with balloons and flowers. We try not to be jealous. Even to be in Turkey would be a huge relief for us. Syria is very dangerous. Maybe when we get to Turkey I can fly my kite for the first time. We would not dare to do it here in case someone were to see it. Zaina's been drawing again. She's drawn me a picture of Mr. Bean. Apparently the character is 25 this month. She showed me how she did it on her tablet. It's quite easy to make the pictures, but she has a gift. Hers is special. She always knows just how to cheer me up. It is strange to think that the building where we watched that film is gone. Best not to imagine what would have happened if it had been the night before. I try not to think of home at all. It is only 25 miles away, but it feels like 1,000. I wonder if we can ever go back to our lovely Aleppo. We spend much of the time trying to rest as best we can. It's fairly uncomfortable, especially now there are more of us. The other family are very quiet. They look in shock and very dusty. They don't seem to want to interact with us at all. Mind you, I'm not so clean myself. We need to get out of here soon so we can wash properly. Water is very precious in this place. I just hope that we can escape tomorrow. Amira. Day 7, the 7th of September 2015, near Iskenderun, Turkey. Freedom starts here. Yes, we did it! This morning everything went to plan. We got to the border earlier than we had before. We felt like we were more conspicuous because there were more of us, but we made good progress. The ditch was deep and Dad had to lift me down. We had to be very careful not to get ourselves or our bags caught up in the barbed wire. And then we were grabbing our bags and running up the other side and into Turkey. I gave the guides a wave goodbye. I wonder what will happen to them. The guides had given us directions as to where to meet the 2 cars. It was a 20-minute walk in the early light. It was so peaceful, but we were all scared. If the border guards caught us there, near the border, they could easily send us back into Syria. Luckily, the guides were as good as their word. 2 cars were waiting for us just where they said. They gave us a lift into Reyhanli, to the bus station. We have friends in Iskenderun, which is near to the sea. Many years ago, we travelled via Reyhanli to visit them. Dad contacted them a few weeks ago, but has not been able to make contact since. It was dangerous to make phone calls or send emails in Aleppo because we did not know who was listening, and it was better that nobody knew our business. Dad phoned them as soon as we got to the bus station, and they told us which bus to take and where they would meet us. Dad was smiling and talking excitedly. It felt so good to hear familiar, welcoming voices. We got bus tickets for the bus to Iskenderun. It is only an hour away. We really have not gone far, but already what a difference. The bustle of the streets almost scares me. I'm so used to the sad, secretive streets of Aleppo. Now that we are away from the border fence, we are relatively safe in Turkey. The authorities will not send us back to Syria. We are guests in this country, which means we have no legal rights, but at least it is a sanctuary. We had to queue up and wait many hours until there was space for us on the bus to Iskenderun. There are lots of other Syrians waiting to take buses away from the border. Others are saving their money and walking. We finally climbed aboard in the early afternoon, and it gradually began to dawn on us that we were free. We had left Syria, and this was the start of a whole new life. I slept like a baby on the bus, and when we arrived in Iskenderun, it was hard to wake up. I sleepily climbed into our friend's car. When we got to the house, there was a great deal of noise. The whole family had come to welcome us. It was like a party. As soon as we had made our welcomes, we were led to the bathroom to wash. It was so good. 3 days of grime and dust dissolved away. And then they prepared a meal for us. We all sat at tables outside. It was like a dream. Aleppo feels like a different world. Much of the talk at the table was about family and friends who have also escaped Syria. Many of them are trying to make a living here in Turkey. Some are in refugee camps. Apparently, life is increasingly hard in the camps. There is limited food and too many people. 30% of the refugees in Turkey are in these camps. The rest are staying in the community as best they can. And now I'm going to bed. Dad has promised we can go and look at the sea tomorrow. It's not far from here. I think Zaina saw it when we arrived, but I must have been asleep. Today has been an important day, a wonderful day. But in some ways, the days that are coming cast a shadow. We need to rest and get strong. I think Mum and Dad are still planning our next move. They were always scared to talk in front of us in Syria, but I can see them starting to open up. I hope to learn more tomorrow. I will sleep now. Amira. To be continued.